All right, good morning, designers. Today we're going to be looking at a new tool called the Live Paint tool. As a reminder, if your screen doesn't look like mine does, you may just need to change your workspace up here from Essentials to Essentials Classic. All right, so the Live Paint bucket is essentially a way for us to fill areas between paths that are not a complete shape. So we know at this point that just using line segment tools does not actually make something a shape. For example, these lines here, if I try to change the fill color, it's not actually going to fill in right here because this is not a closed path. So this up here in the top right hand corner gives you a reminder or some terminology in terms of a path versus a stroke. So a path is like the bone that runs through a shape or a line. It's made up of anchor points, and the path connects those anchor points. The stroke color sits on top of it, kind of like clothes go on top of a person, right? Those clothes can change color, they can be thicker or thinner, but it doesn't change the person that's underneath or the path that's underneath. So that is different from over here. We see a closed path or a shape where that same amount of color is happening, but it's a fill color with the path and the anchor points going around it. So today we're going to be looking at making sure that we understand how the Live Paint bucket fills areas between paths. So over here it says, the Live Paint bucket allows you to color in areas of an illustration that are created by overlapping paths. It's important to know the difference between a path and a stroke. If the paths of the lines or shapes are not actually overlapping, they will not fill with the Live Paint bucket. So, to use the Live Paint bucket, select all of the lines or shapes that you want included in the recoloring. So I'm going to start with this one over here, overlapping lines. I'm going to select all of those shapes. Convert the selection to a Live Paint group by coming up to Object, Live Paint, Make. You'll see the corners of your bounding box change. You'll also see that they are now grouped together. Click and hold on the Shape Builder tool to find the Live Paint bucket. So over on my toolbar, I'm going to click and hold on Shape Builder and find this one right here, Live Paint bucket. You can see the keyboard shortcut for that is K. Choose colors from your color or swatches panel. So over here I can either have my full color spectrum or my swatches open, choose a color, and then click areas in your selection to fill them. You'll see it highlights, nothing else highlights because these areas are not closed, they are left open, and that'll fill. So let's try it with these other two over here. A striped pattern. I'm going to do this the same way. Select all of my pieces. Object. Live Paint. Make. Then let's say I'm going to do, get my Live Paint bucket before I choose my color. And then I'm going to do some alternating stripes. There you go. Now this one on the end says fix the issue with the paths, then fill the stripes. So let me show you if I don't fix the issue, what happens. So I can do this the same way, Object, Live Paint, Make. Get my Live Paint bucket tool, choose my color, And it's working, and then, oh no, not working. See how it's treating these 3 pieces right here as one big object? That's because if I zoom in, you'll see that even though my stroke is touching or overlapping here, the stroke of the circle touching the stroke of the line, the path itself, this green highlight, is not actually intersecting. So the fill color with my live paint bucket is like leaking through these areas and treating it as one shape. So what we need to do, I'm going to use Command Z to go back. And before I create a live paint group, I'm going to come in and check my lines and say, okay, I think this one and this one and this one maybe are the problem. And I can either just stretch this out, or I can use my direct selection tool to move these paths to make sure that they actually cross or overlap. If you have Smart Guides turned on, you'll see it'll highlight when it's actually intersected, which is nice. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom, make sure that these are actually intersecting the circle. And then I'll do my process and see if that has fixed it. Yes, this is now working properly. All right, on our next page, we're going to apply some of our color theory knowledge from today by looking at the term of the color scheme and its definition, and then using the live paint bucket to fill in these little kind of coloring page sheets. So for example, this first one says monochromatic, one color plus tints and shades of that color. So different values, all of the same color. Now you can see I've already made these areas into live paint groups for you. So all you have to do is get your live paint bucket and color them in. But we're going to color them in using a monochromatic color scheme. So I'm going to choose maybe blue. I've got lots of blues in here, or this is a good time to use your color panel instead of your swatches panel. And I'm just going to choose all different variations of blue. To color this in. So I'm going to get some dark blues, some lighter blues, and color this in using the color scheme that has been determined based on the exercise. So you could do this with any color, but I love a good blue monochrome. So you will continue to work your way down. These little pieces here are just if you want to decide on your color scheme first. So I could say, okay, monochromatic, I'm going to do, oops. I'm going to choose my blue colors first. And then when I'm working down here, I can use my eyedropper tool to pull those colors, or for each of these colors, I could make a custom swatch. So like this blue that I made right here, I can click and drag down to put a swatch there. I always do that. If that happens to you and you're like, oh no, I've colored everything wrong, just Command Z, don't panic. Make sure you're on your live paint bucket before you choose your color. If I want this to be down in my swatches, I'm going to choose this little preview, click and drag it down, making those so that I can keep reusing them. All right. So you are going to work your way through this worksheet. This one, you're going to choose just 2 colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. So it might be, you know, red and green, or yellow and blue, or yellow and purple, excuse me, or purple, orange and blue. Analogous is colors that sit next to each other on the color wheel. So like green, green, yellow, and yellow. This one, you're either going to choose warm colors or cool colors and fill it with those. Triadic, 3 colors equally spaced on the color wheel. Examples are primary or secondary. So if you were doing primary, it would be red, yellow, blue. Secondary would be green, orange, purple. All right, give it a shot. Happy designing.